All right, welcome to today's lecture. Today we are going to be dealing with data analytics, which is one of the major thing that the system. When I mean the system, I mean the computer is used for. Of course, you know that when we talk about information technology, that information we're talking about is actually data. It can come in a raw form. You have to analyze it, process it. Of course, you can store it or for future retrieval. So that's basically the idea. We define system like that. So today we're going to look at data analysis proper. Okay, of course, it's a field of this whole uh, information technology that has to do with getting data, analyzing them, and giving insights for better decision. So let's look at it through the lens of data analysis life cycle. I try to gather a lot of schools of thoughts around the data analysis. They basically are related, but they use different nomenclature, different approach. But if you notice, if you observe very, very well, they are obviously similar. The spirit is the same. Let me start from the first one, from data pipeline. Okay, they are looking at the data analysis life cycle from identifying the data to collecting the data you have identified. Of course, when you collect it, it might come with a lot of inconsistencies. You need to clean it up. So when you clean it up, it will be ready for what? Analysis. When you analyze it, you can now then interpret the results, and then submit, maybe visualize or something. Now, beneath it, below it, directly below it, you see another school of thought that says business question and get data. Business question is similar to identifying the data that you need, right? So, get data is similar to collecting data. You could see the idea is almost the same thing, but the nomenclature is different. Why am I spending my time talking about it? So that whenever you see anything like this, you not say, oh, it's different from what I already know. No, they're not actually different. Let me continue. You see, explore data, right? Explore data and prepare data is as it can be likened to cleaning up the data. Exploration means your first look on the data, you just get some overall information before you begin to dig deep. On the surface, you can get some information around it, and then you can now prepare. Prepare is close to what? Cleaning the data up. Okay, you prepare the data, then analyze. Of course, okay, they're using the same word here. You now analyze the information. Interpret is kind of getting to present your results in such a way that someone will be able to say, okay, this is what's happening there. So you can see present your findings. Okay, let's look at the one below the bottom left. It's now for elements. You have data extraction. Okay, you can see here they are not looking at identifying or business questions. It's already assumed that whoever is collecting this has already done that. So in the spirit, they're actually the same, but even though it's not written here. So prepared data preparation, of course, you can see data preparation is can be analogous to exploring and what cleaning data. So the next one is data exploitation. Exploration. So data exploration is analyzing the data, and at the end of the day, you have to do data visualization and reporting. Now, the next one is the one in the middle here is data acquisition. See, some collection, some get data, some extract data. Now, this one is using the nomenclature acquire data. After acquiring the data, you have data preparation, then data analysis, analytics model, and then you deploy your model. So this is coming from the area of maybe machine learning or so. Yeah, even though it's not all just about machine learning, but there are other statistical data processing method you could use. The next one is data generation. You can be likened to getting data, extracting it and everything. But generation means now, in the case of probably you are doing an experiment, you can simulate information or something like that. Then you collect that data and store. This one is adding storage. But after, you do have to do what? Analyze and process. Okay. Now, in this case, you could see that they did not create a special listing for the data preparation in this case. So you now have data extraction, data presentation, and sharing. The other one you have below it is a data analytics series, data extraction, data transformation. So transformation is also another word that is used for data cleaning up. Okay. Um, Data preparation, data transformation. So clean up, preparation, transformation, they are almost the same thing. So you have this one, it talked about data loading. So after you do your extraction, data transformation and data loading. So that one you're looking at ETL. There's a concept called ETL, extraction, transformation, and loading. So that one starts with the ETL. Then you have data analysis and data visualization. I don't need to go on and on and on. What you notice that they are almost saying the same thing. Okay, the cycle is simply telling you that you cannot start analyzing things. Data must come from somewhere, and when it comes from somewhere, depending on how clean that data is, you have to clean it up and then get it ready to run your command and execute. So now, having said that, let's move on. Let's just look at various types of data analytics. Okay, so this improvement has been made over the years, right? People have been interacting with data. So I'm going to start with descriptive. Descriptive is like exploratory. You're trying to describe the data on a high level. You're not going deep, right? First of all, you are trying to in this particular context, you're asking what's happened. Okay. At some point, you might be doing deeper analysis to understand why it actually happened. Okay. That's what we call diagnostics, right? But technology have moved on to predictive in such a way that you can now do a future model and know what will happen if certain things or certain conditions are set. So you are now predicting an outcome based on the prevalence, inputs. At some point, you might begin to ask, that's what is happening now. How can we make this happen? So you can see the data analysis has actually evolved over the years. So let's take each of them. So descriptive analysis, right, is analysis that involves summarizing a quantitative representation of the main characteristics of a data set. It aims to answer the questions such as what happened, how often, what are the trends. Descriptive analysis helps us to understand the historical pattern and trend by utilizing visual representations such as charts and graphs. Okay, I don't want to go into the application. Let's go to the second one, diagnostic. Analysis that go beyond just describing the information. It's asking the question why it happened. Okay, by identifying causal relationship and correlation with the data. The diagnostic approach helps us to gain insights into how different factors interact and influence. So this is deeper than descriptive. Okay. There are other applications, like I'm not going to like try to dwell on the application as well. So look at, we have predictive data analysis. What it utilizes the historical data to make future prediction or estimates. It involves application of statistical methods, machine learning, very, very important. Okay. To identify patterns, trends, relationship between data. Predictive analysis answer the question, what is likely to happen in future? You know, pending some few parameters that you can control. Prescriptive is at this point is actually the highest level, right? Precision analysis takes predictive analysis a step further by providing what recommendation or actions to optimize the outcome. Okay, it leverages advanced algorithm optimization techniques, okay, to provide insights on what course of action should be taken. This one is no longer just studying, it's trying to, kind of predict what you could do so that you can somehow be a little bit in charge of what, or sorry, not in charge, to influence, what the outcome could be. So you're now making attempts on influencing the outcome, by your action. So prescriptive for now is at the highest level of this data analysis. So this is it. But today, we are not talking about cognitive. So we are now building AI that is going to become like an agent. You hear agentic AI and everything. So you are not just predicting the person, you can actually tell the person what to do, not the person actually, the agents. It's just an algorithm, you know. There are agents now that can check email, respond to the email, and even direct the person to do something without the owner of the email even raising a finger. At that point, we are talking about cognitive analysis, because before you're able to, you would have studied different kind of customers. That's equally data analysis, because you are trying to understudy the customers that are there. So a lot of people are taking courses. You can equally try out one of those courses, right? Whenever you hear agentic AI, building an agent, you're trying to automate a process such a way that you human being will not have to bother yourself again, on certain things, and allow your AI agent to handle them. Okay, so that's one of the things that we need to know. Now, let us go into the meat of the matter. We are going to go into Excel today. We're actually looking at Excel, right? So we have data, sorry, statistical method. Just leave this for now, and I'm going to put down this slide, and then we'll go to Excel. Some of the things that are here could be done with Excel, could be done with Power BI, could be done with SPSS and other tools. So enough of the theory. I'm going to close this. Again, I'm going to drop the let me drop the material, and I'm going to give like 3 minutes. I'm going to give 3 minutes for people to get the material. I've dropped it before, but I'm not sure. Let me drop it again. All right, so when you come to Excel, you're going to have this. Okay, Excel is an object-oriented programming, and this is what the interface looks like. When we did Microsoft Word, we talked about quick access toolbar. So you might have to go to watch the video. I'm not going to repeat what is quick access toolbar does. So we have under it, you have your menu, the tab menu. It has different tabs. I equally explained it very well there. And then the tab have ribbons again. So if you click on insert, for instance, you can see the ribbon will change similar to that. So all through the course, you're going to be looking at the commands that are in the ribbon. Okay, each ribbon is divided into groups. You can see this vertical line here, vertical line here. So this in this ribbon called home, the first group is called clipboard. Look at it here. The second group is what? Font, alignment, number, style, cell. So within each group, you can see different icons for different commands. So we're going to start. Beneath the whole ribbon, you're going to see two things. Number one is the address um, name box. Okay, some people call it address box. It's a name box. I'm going to explain what name box means right away. What do we mean by name box? This particular software is object oriented. So you have something like OOP. You would have heard OOP. OOP means object oriented programming. Okay, but what does objects mean? Okay, that's what I want to explain. Now, in every programming language, they have a way of discovering, there are different objects, and those objects are divided into classes. Why are they divided into classes? Because they have a particular method. Let me explain it in simple terms, right? If you have living things will be classified, into plants and animal, because plant does different things different from animal. Let me just take the fundamental. We take in, as human beings, we take in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide. And a plant will take in the carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. Now, you could call that method. So my own method is different from the method of the plant. So an object is an entity within the programming environment that can be identified. That's number one. They can be put into a class. That's number two. And they will have different methods. So when you have these characteristics, you can differentiate A from B. For instance, a fish can swim but cannot run. A bird can fly but might not be able to swim. Okay, so different things, snake crawl, and so these are different objects with different methods. So let us now bring it back to Excel. This means that there are objects in this Excel that can actually be identified, right? And when you're identifying them, you give them a name. Back to what I was trying to describe with the name box. Okay. So pay attention to the name box, right? You see what is there is B4. If I click on another cell, you will see E7. Now, the idea is that this cell that I have clicked here, which is E7, is an identifiable entity. So the name of this is E7. The things that can happen within this box will be referred to as their methods. So you could see that this is totally object-oriented, software, because every object, it can be identified with a name. So that is what we call name box. Now, how is this thing? Okay, before we come back to how it's named, the next thing to the name box is what we call the formula bar, right? This is where you put all your calculate formulas. We're going to come to formulas where we talk about operators and functions. Okay, that's by the way. Now, let's go back to the name box, right? If you notice this place, why is it E7? It is E7 because this cell is where the row 7 and the column E intersect, and that's why it's called E7. So if I click on another one, you're going to see D what 11. Okay, so you could see this is the. Okay, let me just probably put some colors to this. So this is D11. Okay, so this is D11. If I click on this, you can see D11 is written um in the name box. So it's an object. So this cell now is an object. So the colors you are seeing here is to demonstrate why it is D11. If you follow this column, you see that it's in column D. Follow this other yellow, this you see that this is in row 11. And that's what gave you the name D11. Okay. So what other objects? A cell, a single cell can be an object. A group of cells can equally be an object. So if I select this number of cells, okay, let me color the yellow. So these cells, they equally have their own name. Okay. How do you name a collection of cells? Officially, collection of cells is referred to as a range. Okay, so in this case, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is an object that have 6 cells. So that's why I call it an object. So how do you name, just like you have D1, D2, how do you name something like this? So what you do is the first one, you can see is G6. The last one is what? L6. So the name of this is G6. Okay. Then you have column and then you say L6. So this is how to name a range. Okay. You put the first address, okay, then put dot dot, and then put the last cell. So this whole cell now, they have a name, right? Sorry, they are now referred to as a range. Now, not only horizontal, if I choose a vertical line like this, let me color it yellow as well. Okay. So having colored this yellow, you have the first set, the first column is what? F10. So I have F10. The last one is what? F19. So the name of this range is what? F10 column F19. So if you see this, have to name a range. There's another range that is a combination of both horizontal and vertical. This is a range as well. Okay, it's not just going up, it's not going down, but it's actually going diagonal. So now, in the same way, the naming convention remains the same thing. This is what J11. Then the last one is what? The last one is M18. Enter. So this range now, if I want to write the name of this range, it's going to be J11. Okay. Then dot dots, right? M18. So this is how to name a range, whether the range is vertical, whether it is horizontal, whether it's vertical or even diagonal. So the first cell is colon, the last cell. So having said that, what other objects? Okay, this sheet here is an object also because you have sheet one, you can create more. If I click on this now, it will create more sheets for me. You can see it has created sheet 2. Why are they not bearing the same name? I can create another one. You can see it is bearing with 3. It is because, okay. Sorry, okay. So, continuing this Excel now, we are going to start from the scratch. So, you have these sheets, right? You can give them any name, okay? It's part of the thing that you do to an object. You can name an object, okay? You can give it a name, okay. For instance, if I want to rename this, I'll right click here. Okay, whenever you right click, it gives you options, and these options are different values of what the method. Remember I talked about methods. Okay. Now, let me read through them. The first one is insert, meaning that I can actually insert another slide. The second one is delete. I can actually delete this particular one. Okay. The next one is what? Rename. So I can rename the one that is existing to another name, or even carry it and go and work the body or something. So we have move and copy. Now, for the move and copy, right? What it means is that you have someone say M18. Did I make a mistake? Sorry, hold on. Oh, M18. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Godwin. I can see it. Yeah, thank you. M18. All right, so you right click. So you can rename and do whatever you want to do with the whole, give it color, whatever you want to do with the body. Then you can move or copy. Please, listen carefully for this particular one, right? If you click on it, what you are going to do is, like for instance, you can have a lot of, let me create more so that it makes sense. I don't have sheet 3, sheet 4. If I want to move sheet 2, okay, till the end, okay, I'll right click on it. So there is an option called move or copy. There are two ways. Number one, I can move it. Move it means I'm uprooting it from where it is to move it to another location. Copy means retain this one, duplicate this particular sheet, and then move the replica to a particular place that you are going to choose. That's the idea. So let me click on move or copy. This is what is going to come out now. So this is asking you, where do you want to move this to? You can actually move it to another open worksheet. Sorry, workbook. Okay. Outside this particular, as far as the Excel is open, you can move it to that place. Okay, that's the first thing. That's why you have to book words. You can see these are all the Excel, okay, that is open in my system. So I don't want to do that. Now, it will ask you before, if I choose any of this, it will give me all the sheets that are in that. So since I'm referring to this particular work, so I'm going to leave it there. So what you're going to see here is the sheet what. So I'll tell you, move it to the, you can equally choose to move it to the end. I'll click on move it to the end. Now, you can see an icon here, create a copy. Create a copy means while you are moving it to the end, duplicate it and leave the original where it is. Okay, that's what is meant by create a copy. So when you click on it, you say okay. You can see I now have sheet 2. So you have sheet 2. So you could, yeah, you could see that this sheet now you have sheet 2, you have sheet 2 bracket 2. So these are a copy. If I right click and move a copy, move and copy, I'll create a copy and move to the end. I'm going to have sheet 2 again, 3. So I have 3 instances of sheet 2. This is the first one, this is the second one, and then this is the third one. So that's one of the methods, okay, for this particular object. Another method is renaming. I can decide to rename it. For instance, this sheet 1, I can say click on rename. I'll give it a name, class 1, for instance. Okay, and enter. It will take that name. I'll number the second one. I'll click rename and then I'll call it class 2. Enter. Then number 3, right click, rename. Then class what? 3. Enter. So I can go on and on and on. So you can see that's how to rename. Okay, there are other things you can do to them. You can look at if there is a code. If you read, if you have written a code, we're going to come to that later. I don't know. No, coding is not part of this particular DAIPOD. So you can protect this sheet using passwords so that nobody can tamper with what is here, especially some few cells. In case if this is like a template or a formula that you develop for something. You don't want somebody to tamper with it. Rather, you can make it open for them to what use. So we have tab color. I can change the color of this tab in case I want to identify them quickly. I can put one as red. You can see this class is showing me red now. So whenever I want to, probably that's the one of the important tabs or the one that is faster for me to access. So these are so all these things you can see these are objects. Why are objects important? I can even use this object to write an Excel formula. In fact, most of the Excel formulas and functions is going to be referring to objects. Just let us put that one out immediately. So let us now look at starting from the first thing we are going to do here is data entry. Okay. Some of us, that are into data science, that data entry is a whole lot. You need to understand this whole data thing, the way I've explained this, last week. So data entry is simply putting information on the system. So first of all, assuming, let me zoom in so that you can see what I'm saying. Okay. So it's the cell that have the data. So most of the time, you might not be able to generate the data yourself. It might be data that has already been generated and they will ask you to work on it. Maybe import it from a slide and then do some analysis Now let's roll. This is okay, 315. All right, so we have different ways of I can type in, right? Okay, this is me typing. So let's all just do a minimal data entry. So I'm going to start with one serial number. Okay, serial number, you hit enter. When you press enter, you can put number one. You press enter again, you put number two. You press enter, you put number three. So one thing you need to learn here is that this is a manual process of doing this thing. If I want to reach 100, you don't expect me to keep typing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one of the first things I need to teach you in data analysis is what we call automatic filling. So if you click on this one, okay, let me zoom in. You're going to see, if you click on one, you can see that the cursor is white cross, okay, white thick cross. But watch what is going to happen if I come. If this Excel is what I'm interested in, I need to come to look at how this thing will change. There's a small box here. Once I come there, it will change. Okay. So when you change, you can drag it down. Okay. It's good. When you drag it down, what you're actually doing is to copy the first cell and replicate it across other cells. But after doing that, if you wanted it to give you a series, which is what I want in this particular data entry. Now, if you notice, after dragging it down, you will check there is a box here. Down, down. Now, if you click on that box, it will give you various options. Okay. I'm going to explain what all those options mean so that tomorrow, in case you want to use anything, you can look at it. So this option, number one, is what you have done already. It copies the cell. Copy cell means copy the first data and replicate it across all the cells. Second one means series. So that is particularly the one that I'm interested in now. So I'm going to click on what? Fill series. Then it's going to fill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to assume an arithmetic progression. Okay. So that is that. Let us talk about other ones. So let me just click on that box again. Small box here. Okay. Now, what we have three more. The second one is saying leave the value, but just copy the words, the formats. Example, right? We are going to talk about formats now. Okay. You can have different kinds of data. In Excel, you need to understand the type of data you are working with. Okay. So that you will not make mistake. So for me to explain that, right, I am going to show you people all the data that is available, all the data types. Okay, so that you know. The reason why this is important is, let me take the number 5. If I enter 5 into an Excel like this, that 5 can mean anything. Trust me. Now, this number 5, you know that it can equally mean Friday. This number 5 can equally mean February, January, February, March, April, May. This number 5 can equally mean May, right? The number 5 can equally mean 5th of a particular month. The number 5 can equally mean 5 kilogram. Number 5 can equally mean 5 naira, $5. So you can see I've mentioned 7 different things that this number 5 can represent. That only tells you that you really have to define what the information you want to represent at a particular place should be. Okay, because if you leave it open, it will not, it might assume anything. So you have to make it clear. That's one thing that we want to. So having said different things, I want us to look at, how we can, program or configure these cells to take a particular what data type and shape or format. So now, if you click on this cell or right click, okay, if you right click, you will see format cell somehow. So format cell is equally a method, because this cell is an object. So if you click on format cells, it's going to open up this dialog box. This is dialog box I want to use to teach everything about this particular cell, so that we can adjust it. So hold on. So when this is pulled up, right, you are going to have tabs. The first tab you can see here is number. If I click on alignment, the font, the border, the fill, the protection. What I want to hide, lock or anything, but let's start with the first one. So remember how we came here, we had to right click on a particular cell. So whatever we choose here is going to affect that cell that we right clicked. Okay, let me close it. If I choose a range and then right click and come to format cell, is equally going to what? Affect the particular range I clicked also. If I click on this also, now there are 2 ways. If I want to select the whole column, I'll come to this C. Okay, instead of right clicking on a cell, I'll come to this C, I'll right click, I'll say format cell. Again, whatever I do will affect every single cell on this column. Let me close again. If I go to row, right, you can see column is A, B, C, D. The row is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you want to select the whole column or the whole row, you are going to come to that particular name of the column. That's like you have here C, or maybe 6, for instance, 6. If I click on 6, you can see it will select everything from the beginning to the end. That's how to select the whole column, right? So this is just what I want you to know. So you can do a range, you can do a cell, you can equally do the whole column or the whole row, right? Now, if you want to select everything, all the column and all the rows, you come here, you can see this particular thing. When you click on it, it's to select everything. Okay, so if you right click again, you can format, but that's enough. So what I want to do is to just show you, okay, if you want to kind of format those particular, say you right click, You click on format cell, and then what you're going to have here is this. So we're going to go through them one after the other. So the first one is number. This is just telling you the data types. Okay. So data types, they are very, very important because it will help you to identify the data you are putting in that particular cell that you want to format. So the number one is general. General is a data type that is default, right? Whenever you come into Excel and you open it, all the cells are formatted as general. General is simply is kind of dynamic. It tries to guess and adjust to any format. If you are typing in number, it will kind of assume that this is about numbers. If you're typing in text, so it's kind of flexible, but you are advised to define your own and not leave it for the system to try to identify what you have in mind or what your intentions are. So you have to explicitly define what the format is. So let me go to the next one. So defining it means number two here is what? Number. Number means real number. Okay. The general will take it as what? An integer. It will not take it as a number, as a real number. Integer means whole number. So if you leave it as general, whenever you are typing in any number, it will assume that it is a whole number. But this second one, number, is a real number. What do I mean by real number? Real number are numbers that will have what? Um, decimal places. Okay. So if I just check this thing now, okay, let me cancel this. This place I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? If I select all of them, okay, selecting is simply clicking on one and not releasing the mouse and going through the whole this thing range. So if I want to transform this range into number, I've selected all of them. I will now right click. I'll go to format cell. Then if I choose number, see what is going to happen. If I say okay, you see now it's showing me that this is not just one, because what we used before was general. So it's taking the one as an integer, just one, a whole number. But immediately we say this is number for us, it knows that it is a real number. That's why you are seeing 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. Okay, so let me right click again. Okay, you go back to format cell. Okay, there are other this thing, currency. Okay, if I say it's currency, I'll say okay. You see what has happened? £1, £2. This is why I told you a number can mean anything. You can see they are now changing. Okay, they are now changing. 1.00, can be kg, but now you can see it has changed to another format. I right click again, go to format cell. You're going to see accounting like date. If I say date, it will change again. You can see what I just typed there is 123, saying it's one of 1st of January, 2nd of January, 1900, 3rd of January 1900, and all that. Okay. So I'll right click again, go to format cells. Okay. The next one is time. If I say it is time now, it's 0000000. So there are different. I don't need to kind of check all the form, but these are, you have percentage. Okay, you have percentage. So percentage is 100%, 200%, 300%, 400%, and all that. So this data can be transformed from one point to another. That's the thing. So let us go to other. I'll make it general again. So I'm going to go to what? Format cell, and I'm going to choose general, and then say okay, it will return to the original information that we put there. Okay. So having mentioned that, the next thing we need to understand is how do we enter information. So why I deviated in this particular one is that this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 can actually be used to represent something else. Okay, so let me right click again and go to format cell. Now the second one, okay, we are moving away from the first type, which is number and all the data types. The second one is alignment, right? So in this alignment, you have general, okay, horizontal. You can see um under this drop down, there are other ways you can make it indented to the left. You can centralize it, you can justify it and everything. So it's under alignment. That is horizontal. Vertical, you can have top, center, and bottom. Justify, distributed. Okay. The next one, you can wrap test. Wrap test means when right, the letters get to the edge of a particular cell, it will now, push it to the next line. That's it will wrap it to the next line. Otherwise, if you don't wrap it to the next line, the write-up will continue into the next neighboring cell, and occupy the whole thing. So that's wrap test. Shrink to fit is no matter how much I type, I want you to squeeze them into one sheet. Okay, so that's shrink to fit. Merge cell is when I want to merge one or two cells. Probably people started differently and at some point you want to kind of merge two different cells together. Okay, so these are the things that, okay, you can see this direction also, degree. If you want to bend it, you okay? So let me show you what this is all about. Okay, let me just write different things here. So this range, I want to change this range. So what I'll do is I'll select three of them and then right click. I'll go to format cell. Now I want to show you what this particular one does. You can see if I turn it to 43 degree, okay, I'll say okay. You can see how this thing the right top is now. It has turned to 43 degrees. So this is one of the things that I use often when I want to do a register. In fact, not this, like if I just want to do a register, I'll make sure that it is actually horizontal. So look at it here, right? Click, go to format cell, and then I'm going to increase it this way. I'll say okay. So why I use this thing sometimes is because of register, so that it will save us a lot of cost. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is right click, go back to format cell. The next thing is fonts. I'm not going to teach these fonts because that's one of the part of this that everybody knows how to use. So you have a font style, whether it's italics, cell size 8, size 9, all those kind of things. But if anybody is interested, no problem. Okay, so let's go back there, right click, format cell. What's the next one? Border. Okay, border is simply the cell or the range that you selected. You want them to have border, inside border, outside border, and all that. So these are not really the important things I want to pass across today. Okay, before the time comes. So what we are going to do now is to start data entry. Okay, so after this serial number, let's say the next is first name. Okay, so put first name. Okay, I'll just put first. Last name. Let me just say phone number. Phone, okay, sorry, email. Okay. So let the first person's name be, let me use my own and start. Lawrence. My surname is email law. Let me see like kh.com. This next one, let me say, is Johnson. Let me say Johnson. The next one is let me say Jane. Jane in the Freke. The next question should be uh, Solomon. What am I typing? So I swap to this thing. Solomon. Let me say A or something like that. The next one is Tope Olu Sola. Sadiq. Okay, let me make do with this Sadia, whatever. Musa. Musa, sorry. Okay, so the phone numbers okay. So when we put these things, this is just like a dummy data. So let's look at okay this now, right? So one of the things that we need to do is to let me teach you what we call what remember I said this time when you have selected this stuff, okay, to show you different options and we are discussing the options, right? So for instance, if I do one, it is going to repeat. Now you have this drop down. Okay, so this drop down you can see I've talked about copy cell. I've talked about sorry. I've talked about copy cell. I've talked about few series. I've talked about format only. Now, few without format is the opposite of format only. So we are going to copy the let me show you what I mean. So if number one is number, if I change this number, it will be 1 point something. Okay. So if I want to copy it down, okay, I'm likely to get 2 points, 3 points, 4 points. In order to stop that, what you can do is you, when you drag this thing down, you are going to choose an option which says copy without format. So look at what if I choose it now, look at what's going to happen to those numbers. They are going to go out because the number, decimal number has been removed from them. So that's the idea. So let me so what else? Now flash fill, that's what we're going to do now. Flash fill is an intelligent way of filling your cells. Very, very intelligent way. So it's more like trying to recognize what you are trying to do, and it will replicate it for you. Okay, even if it is. Anyway, shall let me go straight to the point. So what you are seeing here, you see my first name. Let me just make this one general, and copy it down so that I can move ahead. All right. So this is supposed to be the general. Now let us look at flash fill. Flash fill is what some people don't even know. It's a very powerful tool in this whole Excel. Now, flash fill is, let me give you an example. The reason why, okay, I left this phone, the email address is that, let me say I employed Lawrence, Johnson, Jane, Solomon, Tope Musa. I employ all of them in my new company. And I want to assign them an email address. Okay. If the email address is supposed to be your first three letters at codehouse.com as you have it there. You see what I'm going to do? I'm going to click on it and then do a flash fill and see how it works. Okay. If I copy it down, you see it's repeating law at codehouse.com. But I want in each of them, I want you to take the first three names. So I'm going to flash fill. When you click on this, now you look at one of the options is flash fill. When you click on flash fill, you see what has happened. It has tried to predict what I really wanted to do. I am using one sample, okay, and then flash filling the whole thing. By the way, you know that this data can be as big as 1,000,000, you know. So it can be as big as 1,000,000. It can be as 10,000. So you don't need to keep on doing this thing, right? So when you do the first one, so by the way, instead of dragging down, another way of doing this thing is double clicking. Okay, in case the data is so long, you double click and then the thing will fill it. You can see. Okay. Now, after filling it, you tell it, okay, flash fill. When I click on this, it says flash fill. Okay, you can see it has guessed what I'm trying to do. What if what I'm trying to do is first name dot last name at codehouse.com? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Lawrence dot, pay attention, oh, Lawrence dot Akubwe, okay, at kh.com. Now you can see there is a pattern because if after doing this I will now come here, when this cross turns black, I'll double click on the pattern. You see what has happened here? Then I'll say, please, what I need here is flash fill. If I click on this, I say flash fill. See what has happened. Lawrence.akugwe at kh.com. Okay, you can see johnson.ecot at k. So it has guessed very well that what I'm trying to do is this first name dot the last name at codehouse.com. So this flash fill, you can use it, in multiple ways that you want to be able to, so you can have a lot of things. For instance, I can do, let me do another one. Another one is I'm going to say, I'm going to generate a code. And that code is going to be my first letter, my second letter, and the first three numbers. Okay, let me do that now. So just give me a minute. So you could see there are a lot of things. I was trying to do something. Okay, I said if example, I just wanted to okay, let me just remove all these things. Now, what I want, I'm going to take L and then take A and then take the first two numbers here. So I'm going to say maybe it's a code. Okay, I'll then say L A and then 98. Okay, so this is a code, for instance. So if I copy it here and then choose flash fill, see what is going to happen. I choose flash fill, you see it's so if not for any other thing, this is one of the important tools that you can use. I'm not going to tell you all the scenario you're going to apply it, but at least you can figure out how and when this is very necessary. Okay, so that's flash fill. Okay, now we are going to begin to what else? Am I missing anything else right now in terms of okay, yeah. I want to show you how you can do your custom because we are now dealing with data entry. One of the most important thing you need to learn today is your custom data entry. So I'm going to end with custom data entry today so that next time we are meeting, I'm going to go into Excel formulas. We are going to devote the next class to Excel formulas. I'm going to introduce it in this particular class, okay? But we are going to do a lot of formulas. That's why I shared that. I'm still going to share it again in the next class. But please store it somewhere. That is exactly data I'm going to use. I mean, this particular information, you can see there are a lot of things. You have raw data. You're going to write formulas with this. You're going to analyze the data I share with you. We have COVID data. We're going to do some plots with this data. You can see this one also. We're going to do some plots and do some regression, with this as well. Scores, we are going to do some conditional formatting here, which is writing formulas using some functions. And then we are going to look at what sales data. Here we are going to generate what we call a pivot table. Okay, it's very, very important for people that want to build a dashboard, right? So the serious business about this is I'm going to just do all the introduction that you need in this class, okay, and then we are going to go into it. So this data is important because these are data I'm going to use to teach all the topics that I want next year. Of course, you know that this is DAIPODS. It's not really data analysis per se. DAIPODS is give you an idea of information management. We're going to touch a little bit of some of this thing. Why I'm doing it is that so that probably you want to specialize in data analysis. Okay, later you can it's going to be easy for you to understand. Now I've broken down data, what it means, how you capture data and everything. It's going to be easy for you to take up a career on that. So let me go back. So I want to teach custom before 4 o'clock. Let me just teach custom field. Now custom, right? What you notice is that there are already custom data. Like for instance, if you put one here, you remember when I kind of dragged it, when you come here and you drag it down like this, okay, and you click here and you choose fill series, okay, it will fill the series for you, okay. Now this is a custom series. Now there's another one. If I say 2 and I will say 4, okay, this 2 and 4 is a pattern, right? I want you to pay attention. If I want to continue with 6, 8, 10, and all that, before I kind of drag, down the list, I'll select 2 of them. Okay. So selecting 2 of them shows that when I drag this thing down, I want you to recognize the pattern here. So if I click on this and drag it down, see what you are going to see. you're going to see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 21, 22, right? So these are what custom what list. There's another custom list. If I want to say, okay, the first one is 5, the second one is what 10, and the third one is what 15. Okay, you know that this is a pattern 5, 10, 15. So when I select 3 of them first, I'm now going to come here and drag them down. So what you are going to see is you're going to have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. You're just going to continue that pattern, right? If you use 10, okay, use 100, then 1000, okay, this is a pattern. So if I select 2 of them, I'm going to 3 of them first. Testing 2 of them is to help Excel recognize the pattern. Then if I drag it down and see what is going to happen. So you can see it did not follow exactly what I wanted. Okay. So I don't know the pattern that this is, but sometimes it's not something that we follow exactly. So at this point, I want to show you that you can actually design your own pattern. Now, example, if I have JAN, which is January, right? This is a custom list that is already existing, well recognized in Excel. So if I drag it down, what is going to happen is that the next one will be February. The next one will be March. You have April. You have May. You have June. You have July. You have August, September, and so on and so forth. So if I type Monday as well, okay, MON, right? If I drag it also down, the same thing. You can see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, if I type January in full, okay, January, okay, if I type January in full, the same thing will happen. This is a custom list. Okay, it's even if I type Monday, okay, and then drag it down, you see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So you can see these are all custom lists. Now I might need to build my own. For instance, okay, for the Igbos, we have 4 market days, and I want, when I type my own, I want it to recognize that custom list. Or I can equally do it in such a way that it might be my classmates, right? And I have 10 of them. All I need to do is to put them in a custom list so that whenever I type the name of the first person, it will fill up the rest. Okay. So there are a lot of applications. It can be like a name of different equipment in your company, right? You don't need to come and be repeating it every time. When you write the first one, you should be able to replicate everything. So let me use this last example, okay, to just do that. How do you do that? The first step you are going to take is what? You go to click on file. When you click on file, okay, you go to what we call down here, you see options, right? When you look at options, now it will bring up different option menus. So you have like general, formula, data, and everything. But please remain in general. Scroll down. Okay. Is it general? Sorry. Okay, click advanced. Yeah, click advanced. Okay. You go down, you see general in advanced. So it's not this general, sorry. You click advanced, right? When you click on the advanced menu, you go down, 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 down. You are going to see what? Custom lists. You see general here. You're going to see edit custom lists, right? When you click on edit custom list, you see all the custom lists I talked about is here. You can see that you might not see this one in your own. I've created a care Ore for an in mine. Okay, so let me cancel. If I type Eke now, what it means is that if I type Eke, okay, if I drag it, just I drag it, you see what is going to happen. It is going to complete Ore Afon. So this is an example of custom list that I created myself. Okay, so if you want to do your own, let's use the equipment in my company as an example. Every evening at the close of work, I normally give the status of the equipment, so every time I have to go and copy it from somewhere, and no, I'm not going to do that. I am going to create a custom list for it, for instance, and then do that. So what I'm going to do again, click on file. I'm going to repeat that process. Come down here and click on what? Options. Okay. When you click on options, you click on what? Advanced. Then you keep scrolling until you see general. Okay, general session. Okay. Under general section, then you click on what? Edit custom list. So in this custom list, I'm going to add. Sometimes you can equally add custom list from a sheet. Okay, you can add it from a sheet. So when you want to add it from a sheet, you can click here and then click on import. But if you want to type it yourself, you can what? Type it here. Okay. So I can type compressor, compressor, compressor 5. I will now say enter. Okay, I'll start turbine, turbine 7, enter. I will say something like pump, pump 45. I'll say enter. I'll say generator, generator 07. I'll say enter. I'll say HVAC, HVAC, HVAC 34. I'll enter. I'll say okay. What else? Equipment. Okay, let me just stop here. You can see that I am creating my own. So when I finish now, I'll say add. It has added it. Okay. So what it means is that if I say okay, I will now say okay. Now, what is going to happen? I'll say okay again. Now, when I say HVAC 40, I've forgotten self. HVAC 43, abi? Any of them, HVAC 43. Is that 43 or something? So when you can see, it's HVAC 43. So when I say HVAC 43, you can see what has happened. So any day I want to give a report on this equipment, I don't need to start, bothering myself. What I'm going to do is I'll just say HVAC 43. Imagine if these things there are like 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 number. All I need to do is just come here and drag it down. Okay, it will give me all of them. Compressor 5, turbine. I don't need to, it's only one that I need to remember for this to happen. Okay, so that's all for something that we have for data entry. Also, another thing in data entry is that you can add forms. Okay, form is when the data you are entering is so long. Okay, for instance, this particular data sheet, okay, is so long, like you have first name, last name, blah blah blah. Thing goes on and on and on and on and on. So I have a data like that. Okay, sometimes you might not be able to. Let me just see if I can open it up. This one is a real live data that somebody wanted us to, help the person to do stuff. um Data analysis. Okay, to develop a dashboard for there is that information again. Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Please, where did you stop hearing me? Please.
A minute ago.
Okay. All right. So what I said is that in the next class, right? Don't worry, I've actually ended this class, so I'm just trying to kind of give us a heads up. In the next class, but you saw the slide on operation and operators and functions, right?
Yes, sir.
That's actually where I'm going to start in the next class. So I'm just trying to prompt us what's going to happen in the next class. So we're going to focus on writing formula, different kinds of formulas, mostly the functions that we need, logical functions and all that. So um, that's just prompting us in the next class. So thank you very much. By this time next week, I'm going to go straight into what, even though I might do a little bit of recap in what we have done today, we're going to go straight into like functions and uh, formulas, which is functions and operators. So thank you very much. See you next week. Thank you.